Hello and welcome to our portfolio night. This is a third of a three-part series, and tonight we're going to be talking about design and media arts. Hello, my name is Gio, and I'll be your moderator for tonight. We are Winged Canvas. We are an online art school. We used to have a physical location, but we've moved completely online this year. What we do, we are educators first and foremost. We're also artists, and we create educational content on YouTube. So we're so glad that you're here, whether if it's the first time or you've been following us for a while now. We have a lot of great content, so be sure to check it out when you have time. We also make resources for teachers and classrooms. We used to do a lot of live workshops in schools, and we've accumulated a lot of knowledge that we actually have made into resources that you can check out on our website for free. We advocate for arts education, just like I just talked about, and we also are an art school, so we teach art as well. We offer virtual art classes, art mentorship, and art intensives. So here you can see one of the channels on, or one of the playlists on our YouTube channel. We have portfolio tips. So if you are here looking for more advice, you're in the right place. After we have this live stream tonight, I would highly encourage you check out the portfolio tips playlist and just click through to see what might be useful to you. Additionally, we have our blog on our website, and we have a bunch of articles about advice regarding building a portfolio, some tips and tricks from experts, as well as specific to the Sheridan animation program. All right, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is the third of a three-part portfolio night series. Don't worry though, if you missed the first two, it is available. The replay is available to view on our channel as well, so you can always check that out and catch up on anything you might have missed. Okay, without further ado, I'm now going to ask our three panelists tonight to turn on the cameras and turn on the mics, and we're going to get started. As they do that, I always forget to do this, so I'm just going to say a little bit about myself. I graduated from the University of Waterloo in arts and business, and I studied in fine arts as well as psychology. But that's enough about me. We're going to get started by having Rachel introduce herself first.
I think in the slide, it's actually Jay's next, but we can start with mine. I will start sharing my screen here. All right. So, hey everyone, I'm Rachel. If you've been on this channel before and taken interest in anime, then you may have seen me in some of our videos. I'm a designer at the Winged Canvas and have been for around 4 years now. When I'm not creating things for the Winged Canvas, I'm studying in the York University and Sheridan College's Honors Bachelor in Design with a focus on product design. I'm also a freelance illustrator and creative who has created media for other small businesses, startups, and nonprofit organizations. So here are some examples of my illustrative work. You can probably tell I really like to draw cute, pretty girls in a cartoony anime style. If you'd like to see more of my similar work, my Instagram handle is on the slide. Recently, I've been more into digital work, but I used to be really into ink and watercolor. When it comes to my design work, I do a little bit of everything right now. An example of my graphic design work can be seen on this channel. I designed the YouTube banner, and another example of signage I created was for Urban Minds, Would You Rather Toronto 2018. You may or may not have seen it. It was a public installation for the city of Toronto that was on King and Spadina in downtown for around 4 months. I also do user experience and user interface design, so you could call me a product designer as well. I like to dabble in all things interactive. I've designed for screen sizes as small as a watch face to life-size interactive sculptures. But yeah, that's basically me.
Thanks, Rachel. And also a reminder to those watching, if you have any questions for Rachel or any of us, please do put it in the chat. We will have a live Q&A portion after our introductions. All right, so if we could have, I guess we'll go back in order now. Jay, go next. Thank you. That would be great.
Sure. Nice. So hey guys, my name is Jay, Jay Lintag. I'm the lead designer and also an illustrator here at Wing Canvas. Unlike Rachel, you probably won't see me that often actually on the front end. I'm usually on the back end doing more things on the website, as well as leading some website and brand direction for Wing Canvas, especially just on the designs in general for either the web or leading some of our co-ops or junior designers as well in a direction as well for when they have a project. As for me, I actually have my Bachelor's of Design with honors from York Sheridan Program for Design, same program as Rachel. And I've been working at Wing Canvas for 3 years. I started here as an intern, and I've continued to stay on. Went from junior designer to another designer, and now I'm a lead designer. So it's been quite a journey, a lot of opportunities, and it's been a lot of fun. I'll be showing a project later tonight as well that has been featured in Adobe, some of the Adobe Awards, student awards, as well as Applied Arts student awards, and as well as an honorable mention from RGD, but we'll show that later. I also currently on the side, when I'm not working, I also own and manage the art shop called Fishhead Friends, which you'll get to see as well a little bit later. And other than that, since finishing school, I've been just freelancing for the most part as a designer, but also as an illustrator. Next slide. So here's some of my work. This is a project called Alphabet. It's an ABC book. It was a pretty wild project. I've done the whole entire typeface, the whole font from A to Z, numbers 1 all the way to 9 plus 0 as well, I guess. And all the capitals and lower cases and some punctuation as well. You can find this on my Behance as well. And for the most part, we have, this book was really crazy because it has both, it was both of a showcase of how my typeface can be used as a type specimen, but it was also just a book to really showcase my illustration skills as well. So merging the two, I was able to create something that I was really passionate in both sides for. And with this, you can see a bit more of the detailed illustrations versus the book, a little bit more close up with the details. Each letter in this book is actually an onomatopoeia for the sound that comes out of that letter to help basically children or whoever is learning English, I guess, figure out the sounds more appropriately. So A is not just like ah for apple, it's actually just ah, and I want to have a lot more fun with it. Same with B. B is for burp, so it's just the sounds that you can make using the letter. It's very silly, and you'll see that in a lot of my work that I tend to be very vibrant with my colors, and also just tend to have as much fun as possible with expressions on a lot of my characters. So this project was able to get me an award for Adobe, the Adobe Design Achievement Award in 2019, just last year, top talent under the category for illustration. It was also an honorable mention from the RGD Student Awards in 2019 as well, but under book design, and also was able to make it into the Applied Arts Student Awards in 2019 under editorial design. Lastly, I also own a little art shop called Fishhead Friends. I do manage this on mainly Instagram, and I also have a website to sell all my pins. But if you see this guy flying around anywhere, this is me. I made this. So you see some of my characters. There's mainly the first one, Sam. He's in the top left. He's showing one of them. Yeah, the top left one is named Sam, and I actually made that character here at Wing Canvas during one of our camps. And ever since making it, he's really expanded over in the last year and has made definitely a bunch of friends over time. So if you're interested in looking more into that, you can find that on Instagram at Fishhead Friends. And if you're looking to purchase any of these pins, you can also buy them at fishheadfriends.com.
Sweet. So cute. Definitely lots and lots of talent and experiences there. Thank you so much, Jay. All right. I think now we have, last but not least, Faye.
Hi, everybody. My name is Faye, and I am also a designer. I studied illustration actually in school, so I majored in illustration. But while I was in illustration school, I really fell in love with design. And if you ask some of the older illustrators, like, you know, the ones who worked in the 60s and 70s, they'll say illustration and design, they're the same thing. It's just you're using type in one and you're using images in the other, or more of them. So you can see that, you know, if you look at Jay's work and Rachel's work, we're very multidisciplinary. So we know how to draw, and we also incorporate design in our drawings. And so my personal story, I graduated from Art Center College of Design in California, and I loved my experience and every minute of it. And it was a really, really great experience. I worked as an illustrator, designer, as well as an advertising art director. So I did kind of try a little bit of everything and explored all different areas of creativity in a career. And then 2013, me and my partner, we founded Winged Canvas, and we've never looked back. When I was working as a art director, I did have an opportunity to win some really cool awards. So I won a Webby and some digital marketing awards, as well as being recognized in American Illustration and Applied Arts. On that note, if you guys are looking to win awards, you have to apply to them. That's like the number one thing. Try to seize every opportunity and apply to as many as you can, because those will always, add to your resume in the end. And you get some really good portfolio pieces out of it. So currently I teach art mentorship, which heavily focuses on portfolio building and customized learning. I also teach art intensives, and I specialize in portraiture as well as figure drawing. And if you know me, you'll see that I work in a lot of different styles. And, I get bored of one style very easily. And that's kind of what took me into media arts and advertising and art direction, because art direction allows me to work in many different styles and collaborate with many different types of people and different creative people. And I've really, really enjoyed that experience. I currently work with portfolio students, and I review hundreds of creative portfolios. Both when I was working as an advertising art director, I would look at, photography portfolios, illustration portfolios, and other creative portfolios in order to hire lots of talent to work on a project together. So I'll show you a little bit of my artwork. So this is some of my new work. And I realize I'm covering some of it, but last year I went on a artist retreat in Anhui, China, and it was an international retreat of 30 artists from all around the world, and we just painted together. We spent 18 days just making art, and it was an amazing experience. And I created some pieces. So the piece to the left here is called Data Range, and it was inspired by the landscape, the local landscape of that area, with these really tall mountain peaks and beautiful clouds, and it just looks like everything is just in, behind misty clouds. And you'll notice that I used I use computer parts and technology parts inside this painting. I actually went to the dump. I went to the local dump, and I tried to find as many electronics as I could and strip them and put them in this painting. And it's really to communicate how in the modern world, data is valued a lot more than nature. And that's something that I'm really passionate about. So the pieces on the right, I'm just going to turn off my camera for 1 second so you can see all of them. The pieces on the right is a series. They are all the same size, and they are called Scholar Rocks. And they were also inspired by the natural landscape there. These rocks are found in a river specific to that region, and they're just you take them out of the water, and they've got these like Swiss cheese patterns on them, and they're just beautiful. And the people that I decided to honor were some ancient Chinese scholars. You may have heard of Confucius. He is the man in the orange. He basically invented school and education in China. And the person on the right is a famous poet named Li Bai. And he wrote lots and lots of poems that people still recite today of all ages. And then the painting on the top is Guan Yin, and she is actually a bodhisattva. So the painting on the left is actually really big. Like it's like 6 feet by 7 feet or something. It's really, really big. And it took me a very long time. And I'm actually best known for my portrait work. So you can see from the first slide to the second one, you can see that my style varies depending on the project. I really love using humor and irony, and I like being punny in my work. So I like to kind of hide jokes in all of my pieces. So this is some of my portraiture work, some of my earlier work. Some of these pieces I actually did in art school. So the bear on the bottom right, it's called Meat Bear. I actually sculpted him using, I sculpted the meat using an actual piece of meat as reference, and then sewed the bear and then put it all together. So I actually sold him, and he won a award in American Illustration. And this is some of my design work. So when I decided to become an art director, I started off as a designer. I worked at an ad agency, and I started doing logo design. I started designing annual reports and posters and making campaigns. And I was lucky enough to work on some really great causes like stem cell research, like women's health and community building. And lots of really meaningful projects that I had a lot of fun with. So that's all for me.
Thanks, Faye. Wow, so many accolades and interesting stories. I didn't even know about a lot of those. All right, so we are now going to move into the Q&A portion. Thank you guys so much for sharing a little bit about yourselves. Again, if you have any questions that you'd like answered, please do put it in the chat. We have some questions that were asked pre-submitted, and or those were asked earlier in the evening, and so those will be addressed first, and then if we have time for other questions, we will be addressing those afterwards. Okay. So let's get us set up here. Here we go. Okay, so our first question is, what was your biggest challenge in design school? And then the sub-questions, what surprised you the most? Favorite part? Least favorite part? I'm going to direct this over to Jay first.
Well, I guess what I would have to say is, now that I'm done school, now that I'm done design school, I think the biggest thing that I really took out of it was just like the biggest challenge, I think, was teaching myself that it was never a competition. I think upon entering design school, I thought it was the most competitive thing ever. Like just trying to get in was already competitive. And now that I have to be with the best of the best, quote unquote, in my head, I have to maintain that competitiveness and that level of strong quality work. But then upon finishing design school, I really found it that it's less of a competition, it's more of a community. I had to learn to, I had to like teach myself to stop comparing myself to what my friends were really good at and start to embrace things that I really liked in design. And from doing that, I really found out the most surprising thing is that a lot of the people that you are in a community with are actually really supportive. And from doing that, I've been able to make so many strong connections with tons of designers who I think will become like really amazing friends beyond just colleagues. So
Hey, we love to hear that. Anyone else have anything to add?
Well, Rachel, I'm gonna prompt you because you're actually in design school right now, so you can give us your 2 cents.
Yeah, I'd say it ties into what Jay said. I think one of my biggest challenges was probably stopping myself from comparing my work to others, to my peers, because our program is filled with such amazingly talented people that sometimes I found myself comparing my work to theirs. I feel as though this is a common challenge many creatives in general face, and sometimes you feel like your work isn't as great as theirs, but it probably is. We just tend to be our own worst critics.
It's true. It's all very good and uplifting sharing there. Okay, so our next question is, what is the hardest part about creating a portfolio for design and or media arts? Actually, if Rachel, you wouldn't mind kicking us off here first, since you did it most
sure.
recently.
I think the hardest part of creating a portfolio would probably be choosing the pieces I wanted to include. I feel like from high school to university, I had pursued a lot of different creative projects, and I had just so much that I wanted to show them. I wanted to show them that I could do like this and this and this, and I had so much I wanted to put in there. But you have to choose the most quality pieces and the ones that you feel like they would want to see that really showcase your skills the best. Even though you may be really, really proud of a project, if it doesn't really suit the program you're applying to, it's best to leave it out unless it shows maybe your versatility or you're really strong in one skill.
Yeah, for sure. Jay and Faye, I don't know if you guys remember from when you guys put together your portfolios, if there's anything to add.
Definitely, I could add something to it. I think for me in high school, it was just when you're going into a media arts type of program, they usually expect a vast variety of different types of projects. And I think being able to just break out of your shell when you're still like just entering university is really good. Like, I think you need to not close yourself in on just one type of thing unless you know you're really adamant. But then if you're only doing that one thing, like for example photography, then maybe you should be going into photography. But if you're thinking about the media arts, that's a much bigger umbrella, so you do have to kind of explore a few more mediums or media, right, in order for you to be able to create a portfolio that is capable of showing different things that you're good at or that you can try. You don't even have to be that great, I think, is the other thing. But at least as long as you have a stronghold on one of those mediums that you have, it can carry you all the way through a portfolio interview, I would think.
Yeah, and something that actually someone mentioned at our last live stream event, or our last portfolio night live stream, was that like if you're building a portfolio for school anyways, they're not looking for, you know, a finished career artist. They're looking for someone that they can shape and mold and someone kind of with the at least enough, you know, like background and chops, but they're not looking for like a, you know, you to be the best of the best, but more so, and do you have what it takes for them to give you more experience and expertise? Yeah, Faye, I don't know if you have anything else to add to this.
Oh boy, I made my portfolio so long ago. I applied initially for illustration, and I think the one thing that I would have done differently is I probably would have had a lot more people give me some feedback on my portfolio, because I know a lot of people are very shy about their work. There's a lot of like, no, don't look. And although it's natural that you don't feel super confident about your work, when you're actually working as a creative professional, that's your lifeline is critiques, and critiques will only make you better. So you kind of have to grow some thicker skin and not be so sensitive, because your work in your portfolio is different than you and your work are separate entities. So if you do a bad drawing, that doesn't mean that you're a bad artist. All artists, even the best artists, will make bad work sometimes, right? So I think if you can get some other qualified people to review your portfolio and to give you a second opinion, that's really, really valuable. So don't be shy, because that's in art school, that shyness is going to get stripped away.
Yeah, I was like, I want to snap to that so badly. Okay, so the next question is, how and when did you know these are the fields or career paths that you wanted to do? I know Faye, you just talked about. I'm going to also start with you on this one, having had lots of experience in your career field.
So I'm just going to start by saying that you don't have to know. Okay. You really, like, life is a journey. Your career is a journey. Maybe 200 years ago or 100 years ago, you would have one career for the rest of your life and you did one thing. Now in 2020, you can do tons of things. You can freelance and only choose the projects that you want to do, right? So there's so much freedom out there. When I went to art school, I made the big mistake of applying to fine art without really knowing what that meant. And I didn't do my research. I didn't ask people. There wasn't as many internet forums as there is now. There weren't YouTube live streams. YouTube didn't even exist when I was applying for art school. So I didn't have a lot of the resources that you guys have today. So you can ask random people on the internet about their experience and about their about their journey. And people are very, very supportive. So when I started, I realized, oh my goodness, I applied for the wrong major. So I quickly switched to illustration. And even when I was in illustration, I looked around my art school and thought, I want to do everything. Like, everything is so inspiring. I would walk by the design department and be like, whoa, I want to be doing this. So I had a really hard time deciding what I wanted to do. So when I was in my fourth year of university in illustration, I was graduating and I had an illustration portfolio, like a work portfolio lined up, ready to go. I had a design portfolio ready to go, and I had an advertising portfolio. So I had like 3 different bodies of work. And then when I tried to get work, right, I showed people, oh my gosh, look at everything I can do. I'm so multidisciplinary, but I had a hard time finding work that way, because when people don't know what you specialize in, they have a hard time hiring you for things, right? People don't hire generalists anymore. They hire specialists. So if you are going to look for a job in editorial design, don't show you may not want to show some of the things that are unrelated. So that would be my 2 cents on that.
Sweet. Yeah, most illustrious career path here. Jay and Rachel, did you have stories about when you decided to pursue this path?
Jay, would you like to go first, or?
Okay, I can go. This is the funniest thing ever. I thought in high school, I didn't even know what graphic design was. I thought it was like I remember being in grade 12, and then I thought it was basically a program where you can just like make cool drawings and then print them into posters and sell it. And not that it's not wrong, because I'm kind of doing that now. But yeah, I figured out that later that maybe it was illustration that I really wanted to do. But then even sticking through with graphic design and knowing that you have illustration in your toolkit, it made me realize why I loved graphic design so much more, is because the more things you have on your toolkit, the more things you're going to be able to do in terms of projects. But just like Faye said as well, it's good to have that utility belt like early, and then start to close in on what you really really like doing the most, so that you can niche into something, so people can know you as something like an illustrator, or even in illustration it breaks down even further. And that's what I'm kind of going through right now as a freelancer, because I don't want people to just know me as like, oh, I do illustrations, but what's in illustrations? So now I'm trying to break it down even further, and say something even more specific, so like something like product illustration. And that's something that not a lot of people kind of know about. But product illustration is, for example, actually like this portfolio guy that we have here in the screen. That's one of the characters I actually made. But product illustration is essentially creating cute characters, or not cute all the time, just characters based off the brand and tone of a company, and really creating this atmosphere and mood to set the tone for whoever's reading it, to know that if we're really friendly, or maybe if it was more serious tone, then maybe we'd have like a more serious style of illustration or icon. But in terms of Wing Canvas, we're a lot more fun, and we're very energetic. So I made this cool looking portfolio guy with muscle arms to show that you can make a strong portfolio through this. But yeah, essentially from there, again, like just embracing what you love was definitely something that I found out, that you don't need to know what you want to do right away, but once you find what you love, chase it, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's quite the balance between, the try everything, explore everything, but also hone in, right, on the things that you do want. Rachel, did you have anything to share?
I kind of knew since I was like a little kid that I love to draw and I love doing creative things. I just didn't know exactly what I wanted to go into when I was in high school. And originally I was going to go into industrial design, which is kind of like designing products, like really cool chairs and tables. You guys have probably seen like really cool fold-out tables and stuff somewhere on your Instagram Explore feed. But then I went to the Wing Canvas for my co-op, and then I did some graphic design work, and I was like, oh my god, this is really cool too. So then I switched to graphic design, and now I'm in YSDN, and now I'm kind of leaning towards product design. So like Jay said, you don't know exactly what it is, but once you find something you love, you just kind of like hone in on it. And that's kind of what I'm focusing on now, is product design and a little bit of illustration there.
So, Jay, you mentioned that you really like doing illustration. I think, Rachel, we're all kind of in the same boat. We just love doing a little bit of everything. And in illustration, you might, if you look at the portfolio guy that Jay illustrated, this little icon above the question, an illustrator might say that that's illustration, but a graphic designer might call that iconography. So it's really just a very a complex term for the same thing. Iconography is just a little bit simpler and like easier to process. So really it is the same. It's very similar because it's visual language that we're studying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think if you're still wondering or like not sure, don't worry. Like as you heard here, there's so many options out there that it's more like exciting to explore than anything else, I would say, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, you might not know what you want to do, but I'm sure you know what you don't want to do. So
that is equally as important. Yeah.
So just, keep an open mind, be open to new experiences, talk to other people, join communities, and, you'll find the support and the insights that you need. I think Rachel had a really good point. Like, her co-op experience led her into a different direction because she had experiences that were new. And I could say the same thing for me. Like I met a famous designer named Milton Glaser when I was in my third year of illustration. And I just immediately fell in love with design. And I kind of did a double major without it being official. I took a lot of design classes and I took a lot of other classes. And it all led to me doing this today. So
you never know.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you all, by the way, for submitting the questions. They're great, and we're going to be addressing them after we address the pre-submitted questions. So next we have, what advice do you have? I mean, we basically just talked about that, but what advice do you have for those who are interested in pursuing a career in design? Was there anything that anyone had to add? But I think we covered most of it, but if there's anything anyone wanted to add to that.
I will add, because I've hired a lot of designers, and I think if you are applying for a design job, I believe that a lot of the skills that you need can be learned on the job. Like, I learned most of my things on the job. I learned a lot of principles and theories in school. So anybody these days, like, learning is so easy now and so accessible that, don't be afraid if you don't know a program. You can learn it sometimes overnight, and we didn't have that luxury years ago. So don't be afraid. And I would say, if you are pursuing a career in design, you can try to volunteer first at some places that you just would love to work in, right? Like, when I was in school, everybody wanted to work for Pixar, or everybody wanted to design for IKEA or Target or something, right? So it's a lot easier to volunteer at these companies or intern, and you will learn so much from that. And if you enjoy working with the team and they enjoy working with you, your hireability goes way up. So I also think that if you're pursuing a career in design, you should be open to new experiences and open to freelancing, because freelancing can bring you really cool, unique opportunities.
It's true. Anything to add, Jay or Rachel?
I had something to add. Hold on, give me a second. I have to read it again.
No worries. Yeah, I guess like the previous question, we talked more like for portfolio and starting points. I guess for those who know they want to pursue career in design, any other advice factors?
Yeah, I remember. I was gonna say attitude. That was the big one. You could be the best designer in the whole entire world. You can have the strongest portfolio looking thing in the whole entire world as well. But if you go into an interview and you are someone who is super rude or super mean or super cocky, you're not going to get hired. You're not going to make it into the design world even, I think. And if you are, you're not going to be known for someone good in the community, right? I think attitude goes such a long way, and people can recognize that, especially your interviewer or someone on the other end who is trying to see you. And in most cases, I think it's because of that relatability. Designers, like a lot of designers and illustrators and creatives in general, they've all gone through that grind, and they know how hard it is to get to where it is as a career. So I think if you have a good attitude, those connections that you create usually end up going a much longer way than it does from just working with each other. The bonds I feel that I've worked in any creative field have been way stronger than any other places that I've worked at that wasn't necessarily creative.
Yeah, for sure. And I think to add on to that quickly, in the same sense, if you're very unsure yourself, that will also come across, or if you're not confident in your work, that will also come across. So I think it's also important to show up confident and be confident in your own choices and your own work, because that will also convey. Okay, so the next question we have is, how long did it take for you to develop your illustration skills, and what are some realistic exercises and timelines students should set for themselves? That's a good one. Yeah, okay, it's two parts. So I guess let's do first one. How long did it take for you to develop your illustration skills? Rachel, why don't you take this one?
Sure thing. I started drawing right when I could hold a pencil in my fist as a child, and it used to be just stickmen, and then it became really poorly drawn anime people, and then it just built up from there. It's it just takes a long time. Practice makes perfect. But I think something else that you can know if you're entering design is not all designers know how to illustrate. It's not a skill that's like necessarily needed. A lot of designers, they just have like someone else make the graphics, or they can make really simple like flat illustrations in Illustrator. Not every designer needs to know how to illustrate something super complicated.
Mm-hmm. And then, do you have any realistic exercises or timelines that you would recommend for students to set for themselves?
Yeah, I think as students and just as people in general, we all know our limits, or we should kind of do inner reflection to know our limits. Everyone's different. I know some people can juggle a lot at once and some people can't. Each student is different. But something I would really encourage students to do is within schools, in your tuition, it's usually included. You can go to your school and ask for mental health resources if you need it. And a lot of the times your teachers can be understanding, especially during times right now. It's a little harder for students being more isolated. Just only taking what you can chew and doing the work that you know you can handle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really good advice there. Also, fun little side note when it comes to, I guess, arts exercises and getting better at illustration. Rachel, like, since the day I met her at Wayne Canvas, has been like every single time I see her, she's doodling, she's drawing. She would leave drawings all around the studio. It was amazing. It was great, but it's just like she was constantly doing it, right? So in all her free time and constantly refining those skills just for fun. Like it wasn't even, with a specific project or whatnot in mind. So I think that's a great example of how to just incorporate it into everything you're doing and make it fun. Jay, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, sure. So how long did it take for me to create or to develop an illustration skill? I don't know if there was a specific time when it like peaked or developed per se, but I can say that like it is reassuring when you do like what Faye said before, is just share your work more often. The more often you share your work, the more people can tell you like, oh, this is really your style. And you start to realize like, oh, okay, like I'm starting to pick something up here and people are starting to recognize my work for like specific things. And then from there, you can even ask your friends what things stand out to them the most. And then you start to realize like, oh, these are traits that I'm starting to build on. And, you start to pick and choose what you like in your style, and you start to emphasize those even more because that's something that you're becoming known for. So I think that was something that was really interesting in terms of developing an illustration skill. Another thing that I was told before that really helped for style, like figuring out like what style you want to like develop to is look at what's out there, right? And start to remix a bunch of other people's work, but look at things that you really like. For example, it has to be specific. It can't be just like, oh, I like this guy's whole entire drawing, that's my style now, right? You gotta like look at other people's drawings, but say like, oh, I really like the texture, and then maybe that's something that you're being drawn to, so maybe add more textures to your drawings. Or maybe it's the dynamic poses and you're saying like, oh, they really have a strong sense of like dynamic like energy going in their work, like I want that. Or maybe someone for example is doing really vibrant colors and you go like, I want to try that. So start to figure those things out of what you really like, and that I feel like your illustration style or like your graphic design style or whatever style that you're going for will eventually come into play once you figure out what you like. And as for realistic exercises and timelines that students should set for themselves, honestly, year one of Sheridan, or just a design school, for any design school really, it's gonna be like Karate Kid. I'm gonna be honest. They're gonna make you do some exercises that you really don't know why you're doing it until you're finished it. And one of them is a lot of training under design like fundamentals, as like design principles and design, the elements of design as well, principles and elements of design. Both of those, they will drill those into you through the weirdest projects. There's one specific course that we do called visual language, where they literally make you do 30 thumbnails of compositions with using just one shape, and you can only use black and white. And that was like an exercise that everyone dreaded, but by the time you finish that project, you start to realize like, oh my gosh, this is like I get why they made us do this. For example, if we have a really big heavy circle on the left and we replace that circle with an image, that's actually graphic design. And if we put another circle or like a square on top in the middle and we replace that with like text, that's also like just easy ways to thumbnail without having to, you know, see the full picture right away. You can see things a lot further back with those kind of thumbnail exercises. So yeah, that was one of the really interesting stuff that we had to do before.
That's super cool and great references. Okay, Faye, anything to add? Or else I'm gonna keep going.
Just one thing about how long it takes to develop your illustration skills. Some of us start when we're 4. Some of us start when we're adults. And, you know, it might feel like a really big challenge when you're starting a little bit later in life where you don't have the advantage of learning throughout your childhood. And it's important to understand that talent is very overrated. Whenever I hear somebody say talent, or, oh my gosh, they're so talented, it's like, yes, I've met very, very talented people who don't really work that hard, and they don't really end up in the places that, you know, maybe not so talented people end up if they work really hard, if they're drawing all the time, if they're always, you know, looking for inspiration, if they're using every free minute they have to be creating. That passion is going to get you a lot further than talent. So the length really depends on who you are, you know, how late you've started, but just don't give up. Just keep going and keep going. And if you make tons of bad creative, that's going to pass, right? Don't let that keep you from going, right? We all make just you know, I've been doing art for most of my life, and sometimes I still do a really ugly piece that I hate. So you are not the only ones. Realistic exercises and timelines. I don't know if this question is before art school or during art school, but during art school, my art school experience, I had like 60 hours of homework a week. Like, it was insane. I don't even, you know, normal jobs don't even take that long. So that's like including studio time, where I had 5-hour courses and time for homework. So as an example, I had to fill a sketchbook cover to cover, front and back, with figure drawings in 14 weeks, which means I had to do like, you know, at least 5 drawings a night. Like, it was insane. So just be mentally prepared for that.
Yeah, I think that ties in really well with kind of what Rachel started off with, kind of like know your limits, but also it's like make sure you prep yourself the best you can to take on, you know, what you want to do. And of course, like Faye mentioned earlier, you can always ask someone who's been there before, right? So you can properly, you know, get the tips, tools, tricks, advice to make sure that you are healthy in your pursuit. Okay, thank you guys so much. That was really, really helpful. And this is a great question. Next, we have, what programs or tech do you recommend for those who are serious about pursuing design and media arts? I'm going to do a little bit of a rapid fire for the next few questions. So I'm going to start with Jay, then Rachel, then Faye.
Depends on what kind of thing that you want to go into, but definitely a lot of the Adobe programs, usually Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, maybe InDesign if you're getting into something more editorial, but those 3 are usually like the standard ones. And then if you were looking into something more animated, After Effects. But outside of that, if you're looking more like what like Rachel does and in product, I would look into Figma.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Jay. Rachel?
Yeah, what Jay said, like the Adobe Creative Suite is usually the industry standard, but there are some other tools that have been really effective, like Figma is one. You can do more than just product design on Figma as well. You can do graphic design. I know within WinCanvas we use that as well.
And Faye?
Oh, well, when I was in school, I only had the Adobe Suite. I had no choice. But now, you know, Jay introduced our design team to Figma, and it's actually collaborative. It's like Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, but you can like collaborate. So it's like Adobe Illustrator and Google Docs. So it's pretty cool. And there's lots and lots of free programs that you can use. So if you're into digital painting, you can try Medibang. It's free and it's really, really amazing. Honestly, I can't believe it was free, because when I was in school, I had to pay hundreds of dollars for these programs. Canva is also a good one for just like quick design. There's lots of templates that you can use as well. And I would just explore. Blender is a really good one. Blender allows you to 3D model, and it's absolutely free. So lots and lots of tools these days.
Yeah, Figma was a total game changer for us. Like, thank you so much, Jay. It's awesome. Everyone should check it out if you are into design and free software. Okay, the next question we have is, did you feel stressed or unconfident when you first started illustrating and making your portfolio? If so, how did you get over it? So I know we touched on this a little bit before, but I think it's good to kind of go over, since this is something that a lot of people, like we all go through, right? For this one, since Jay's laughing so hard, we'll do Jay, Faye, Rachel, okay?
I mean, like, I don't think I'll ever be confident or I'll ever be satisfied, as a better word, with my with my portfolio. I feel like because you're always creating, you always feel like you can do better. And again, it comes back down to that reality that you are your worst critic. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. It's good to always want to make sure that you're getting better.
Yeah, for sure. Did I say Faye? Yeah, Faye.
I'm up next. Okay. I would say breathing exercises. Sometimes when I feel a lot of anxiety or when I'm super stressed, your heart starts pounding, you start not being able to breathe. And I think you just have to do some nice long deep breaths. I've been trying some meditation to help with stress. But when I was a teen and I was applying for my first university program, I felt unconfident a lot of times, and I think that's normal. So if you're feeling unconfident or if you're feeling stressed, you are not alone, okay? Because everybody on Instagram and everyone on social media puts on their best face and puts up their best work. Nobody uploads pictures of them crying or, stressed out. So honestly, it's normal. So you just have to keep in mind that you will get over it. It's temporary, right? And just breathe, or go outside, or change your environment so that you can just move away from what's stressing you out and just come back 5 minutes later.
For sure. Rachel?
Yeah, what they said. I was super stressed and super unconfident in my work when I was first making my portfolio. But I think you should also keep in mind in the back of your head that no matter what, you tried your best, and no matter the outcome of whatever, they say, you tried your best, and there's only one way, and it's up. You're just going to keep improving as an artist and designer.
Yeah, I think I shared a video that I saw recently, came across, and talks about kind of for those beginning in their creative career path or just creative journey, and the idea of your taste versus your skill and the product, and just the fact that a lot of times, like creatives, we have really good taste. Like, you kind of know what is good design, what is a good piece, but you might not always be there yet, and that's okay. Like, it's not a bad thing that you have a good eye or a good keen sense or taste. It's just a matter of time, right, before you'll get there. So don't be discouraged by that, but I guess kind of be encouraged that you have that sense. Okay, the next question we have is, what are some tips to keep yourself on track, especially because I have really bad time management? So this is a really good one. And I know, especially with COVID and the season of being online and at home all the time, it's a really, really good one to explore. Let's do Rachel, Faye, Jay.
Okay, well, I think it's a great question for me because I'm always told I have great time management skills. I think something that every single university student needs is an agenda, and they follow it to the T. I remember last year I had 6 courses in each term, which, if you guys don't know, it's a lot. I think a lot of other students watching this live stream, if there are probably freaking out at the thought of having such a heavy course load. But it is possible if you plan accordingly. If you don't have good organizational skills and you're in high school and you're going into university, my biggest tip would be to get some. There's nothing else you can do. You just got to get some organizational skills. So you'll be relying on it like a lot.
Yep. Yes. Did I say Faye? I always forget. I think I said Faye and then Jay. Yeah.
So personally, I am very bad at time management. I get really sucked into a project and I'm super laser focused. And sometimes you have to tear me away from what I'm doing if I have to do something else. And I think it's just like, some people are super organized. I'm super chaotic. So how I manage that is I try my very best to schedule what I have to do, and deadlines. There's nothing like deadlines to motivate you to do something. So if you have a project to do, on a certain day, you can give yourself a personal timeline to get it done the day before, so that you have an extra day. Just like, if you've ever set your clocks forward just like 3 minutes so you're never late, like that's kind of what I do, because I'm always late. So I set my clock like just like a few minutes ahead of time so that I can mentally prepare myself not to be last minute and not to cause myself that stress.
3 minutes. I do like 10 minutes.
Okay,
Jay.
I mean, what can I say? Everyone is going off of organization, and I couldn't agree any more than that. Organization is so key. I think, especially in the design world, one thing I realized now that I'm like out of school and freelancing and like working with other clients and other people is that, you have to share some of these files with them. And if you're not organized and they open your file and they just see like your mess, they're going to be like, okay, well, how do I work with this? And so from there, you realize that organization is a big key to your own career if you are looking into the design world. Even how you folder your systems, how you like write things into like naming your layers, for example. Like I don't always do that. I'm not going to say that I do that all the time, but if you are planning to share it, it's good practice. So try and practice it early as you can. Other than that, in terms of just time management, outside of school, I thought, an agenda would just be something I would use for like elementary school and then maybe high school. And then even in university, I thought like, oh, I'll still use an agenda just because it's all school based. But coming out of school, an agenda couldn't have been more helpful, especially in the freelance world, because you are juggling so many people's projects that you need to make sure that they're getting what they ask for on time and scheduled on time. So what I actually do is I have a little notebook for my agenda. This has been something that's much more useful.
Wait, can you hold it up one more time? Hey.
So this is my little notebook. I actually use this because if it's in my pocket, if it's in my back pocket, I can just write down anything that like people need me to do. And my agenda has become less about work, but more so just about anything that I need to do. It could be something like go to the grocery store and buy something, or even treat myself. Like I'll put that in my agenda as well. Things like that just helps you motivate yourself to know that that you did something that day. And the more you cross out and you don't have to like say like, oh, I have to do everything on my checklist for today. But if you can do most of it, then you can evaluate yourself and tell yourself if you did a lot of work today or if you need to do more work the next day. It happens, but you gotta see and pick and choose what you can be flexible with.
Yeah, definitely. And it's hard to know if you're not keeping track. So I think it's easy to feel a certain way or have no sense of it if you're not keeping track. So definitely important things to do. I know, Jay, you and I are always talking to our co-op teams and everyone about keeping the files clean, the foldering system clean, and everything sorted, because it just makes everyone's lives a lot easier, especially when you work on a team. Okay, I'm going to see if I can squeeze. There are a couple questions that were asked in the chat, so I'm going to see if I can just squeeze these in quickly. Okay, so, okay, it's going backwards. 1 second. The question from the chat, it won't be on the slide, but the question we have here is, how long did it take for you to find your very own style? I don't know if whoever wants to answer this can.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have like a set in stone style. It's always changing, I always have different inspiration from different things. If someone looks at my artwork, they'd kind of be like, oh, cartoon, anime-ish comics sometimes, but like my work can vary a lot. It's always changing. So it took a long time to develop it, but it's not being done developed.
It's still in process of being developed. Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, you're a student, so it makes sense. Like that's what this time is for. And if Jay or Faye have anything to say?
Nope, I think I covered, or Rachel covered what I needed to say. So I don't know. Okay, do you have anything?
I think if you are going into media arts or if you're going into design, style is not as important as it is if you're becoming an illustrator. Like, for example, if you are a designer, you might want to specialize in like furniture design or fashion design or, editorial design or media design, whatever like those niches are. Like Jay is finding his niche in children's design, right? So like you can but you didn't know that you were going in that direction until you started Fishhead Friends and it became this wonderful journey. So for me, that was my story. I graduated from illustration, and in my last year, I was freaking out because I didn't have a style. So I went to my department chair and I said, "What do I do? Like, I need a style." And she's like, "Oh, well, maybe you're set to be an art director." And I was like, art director, what is that? So I Googled it. Mm-hmm. And then when I worked as an art director, I got to work in totally different styles. And that really was a good experience for me. So, if you're like me and you get bored of working in one style, then design might be a really good career path for you.
Yeah, thanks, Faye. So I know there was one more question we didn't get a chance to hit, and that's how can I start developing a career once I graduate? Thank you so much for submitting that question. I think we covered bits and pieces with some advice in here, so we're not going to cover it tonight. However, what we are going to do is all of this will be available to watch on replay afterwards, and we will be publishing some more answers for commonly asked questions that we didn't get to address in our previous portfolio nights as well. So do make sure you stay tuned, subscribe to our channel, and email us if you want to get the resources sent to you when they come out. So that will conclude the Q&A portion of our evening. Thank you so much for all the questions that were submitted. They were great. Here are some other things that you can do to prepare. We offer art mentorship, so you can always get custom portfolio help with an artist mentor if that's what you're looking for. Always do your research. We have blogs and videos with advice and examples from former students, so do as much research as you can to prepare yourself. We are done our portfolio webinar series, but do watch the ones that we had previously because it's also filled with really good advice. We have an art nerd community on Instagram, YouTube, Discord, Facebook, you name it. So join us where you're at so we can chat some more. And last but not least, we have an email list for portfolio students specifically. And again, we send out really helpful advice. You get savings on our program. So you can do that as well. I would highly, highly recommend it. Okay, so this winter, we're really excited to say that we're having our portfolio camp again. This time, of course, it will be virtual. It'll be from December 21st to December 31st, we have figure drawing and sculpture art intensives, and then we have drawing and painting art mentorship, as well as digital art and animation art mentorship. The digital art and animation art mentorship is new, so we're very, very excited about that. If you have more questions, you can ask us or go to our website to find out more. Oh, we are super excited about this. So if you like live streams and you enjoyed today, we are going to be doing some more live streams in the future, starting with this holiday season. From December 17th to 20th, that's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to be live streaming every day, starting on the 17th at 11 a.m. These are the kind of different lessons and projects we have in store to be live streamed. So it's free. Grab your friends, grab your family, and follow along. We'd love to see you there. All right, that concludes our evening. Thank you so much to everyone that tuned in, whether live or if you're watching this afterwards. We'd love to get to know you better, so be sure to subscribe for more in the future. Thank you so much to our panelists. It was great hearing all of you share your stories and insights, and I'm sure that we will have more opportunities in the future. Have a great evening, night, day, wherever you guys are. All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.